Hello there. Welcome to this episode of Just the Dis. My name is Brian, and we talk about Blu-rays here. And today, I'd like to talk to you about one of the Vinegar Syndrome partner labels that I feel like is not getting enough press these days, and I by myself as well. So it's been nice to sort of go through these films and check them out. The label I'm talking about in question is Dekanalog. And it's a really interesting label, doing mostly newer films. At this point, all non-English language films. I think that sometimes is a stumbling block for some people. Although, and a lot of people that are into Vinegar Syndrome and their partner labels know there's a lot of films that they put out through the partners that are not, English language films or subtitled films. But Decanalog is really interesting in my opinion, and I'll just read you from the website. They are not only a Blu-ray distribution label, but they do things outside of that in terms of film distribution to theaters. And so I definitely recommend that if you keep an eye on them, keep an eye on not only what they're doing on Blu-ray, but also what they're doing theatrically, as that is intriguing stuff. And in terms of music, because the website says specifically, a film and soundtrack distribution company dedicated to the release of the most unique filmmaking voices and musical scores from around the world. Founded in 2020 by Elijah Drenner, Lisa Lee, and George Schmalz. Now, if you know anything about recent documentary stuff, and if you're keeping track of Blu-ray special feature stuff, you've definitely heard the name Elijah Drenner before. I've come to know him a little bit over the years, and I'm a big fan of his documentary work. Specifically, he did a film called American Grindhouse in 2010, which is really fun. And my favorite is his film, That Guy Dick Miller, from 2014, which is just a fantastic look at character actor Dick Miller, who is truly one of my favorites. Obviously a big favorite of Joe Dante, as he's in like every Joe Dante movie. And it's just a wonderful portrait of an actor that I think is still a little underappreciated. So definitely go check that out. I think it's still streaming, maybe Tubi. It was on Prime for a while, but well worth looking at and very enjoyable. Elijah also has worked on and continues to work on a ton of video short documentaries for all kinds of Blu-ray labels, from Vinegar Syndrome. I mean, like, one of the big ones you will definitely be familiar with if you collect Vinegar Syndrome is the Beastmaster documentary on that. Like, he's responsible for that one. He's done a ton. I recommend going and looking at his IMDb, because he has just hundreds of credits. I see the iDolomite series, like he did the series of documentary shorts they did on the Dolomite movies. I can't even go into how much he's done. It's just an ongoing, incredible amount of stuff. He's worked on stuff for Kino, I see, 8 Million Ways to Die, interviews, tons of great stuff. Anyway, I'm a big fan of him. And so he's one of the co-founders of this label. And so that is part of the curatorial voice you're getting is from them, including Elijah, in terms of the specific films they're choosing to put out on Blu-ray. And it's fascinating stuff, and none of it is anything I'd relatively heard of. The first one I'll talk about, which is probably my favorite, is from a director that you're probably familiar with in Quentin Dupieux. And he, did Rubber, and most recently, I want to say Mandibles is a big one that people have been talking about a lot that I really need to see. Deerskin, my friend Elric Kane loves Deerskin. Lots of interesting stuff. But the first release from Dekanalog I'm going to talk about is Keep an Eye Out, which is a film from Quentin Dupieux from 2018. Very nice slipcase. Decanalog logo there. And this film was kind of a riot for me, because it's right up my alley in that it is sort of an absurdist, surreal police comedy, I guess. And it stars, as you can see there, Benoit Poelvoorde. I can't say his name that well, but you'll recognize him if you look, as the guy from Man Bites Dog. the serial killer from Man Bites Dog years and years ago. He plays like the police chief in this movie, and it's basically set at a police station where this police chief, who's kind of a bumbly guy, is interviewing and interrogating his suspect for a murder. I believe that's Gregoire Ludwig, the guy right there, who is a guy who just claims to have found a body outside his apartment building. And so basically we go through his flashback, sort of the story of him finding the body. And it's just so silly because it's a thing where he like had to leave his apartment like 7 different times, and so he has to tell about, oh, I forgot my keys and I went back, or oh, I went and did this thing, and then but the last thing he does is he finds the body. And there's so much absurd stuff in this film. It's just so silly in that almost, Buñuelian way, especially towards the end. And I'm not going to talk about the ending specifically because there's a great little turn at the end that I thought was just brilliant. And definitely spoke to heavy Buñuel influence. But overall, really, really interesting movie that I very much enjoyed the comedy of, because it's just so deadpan and silly and absurd. And I kind of, I guess the other comparison you can make is maybe like Charlie Kaufman-y a little bit. That's one of my go-tos for absurdist comedy in cinema. But it's really not like too many films I've ever seen, and there's like bizarre deaths in the film that are treated very strangely, and I just don't want to give away too much more of it, but I really enjoyed it a lot, actually, and I think Elric was a fan of this one too. And as you would expect with a label like this, they do a good amount of feature stuff. You have an audio commentary with director Quentin Dupieux. You have rehearsal footage, makeup effects test for this guy that you see on the cover here who has one eye, and they go into why that is. And that character very much reminded me of Inspector Clouseau. So there's a little bit of that kind of silly Blake Edwards comedy there. I don't know if that's directly influenced or not, but it has the trailer. It has a booklet. They always do booklets in here, so you have a nice booklet with interviews with the director and the cast. So a very nice little booklet for those that like those. I love that. So they really do a nice job, as you would expect from a partner label. This one is French with English subtitles, and I love that quote on the top. Michel Gondry is another way to go in terms of this. Fun exercise in genre bending, equal parts Michel Gondry, Tex Avery, and the Coen brothers. Yeah, I could see all that in a way, but I feel like it's even more absurd than the Coens are willing to go. And on that level, I respect it because it just goes that much farther. But anyway, very enjoyable stuff. Next up, we have a double feature of 2 lottery tickets and a film called A Month in Thailand. These are both from a Romanian director named Paul Negoscu. I'm so sorry about that pronunciation. And these are really neat little movies. Lower budget, low-key drama in one case and low-key comedy in another case. 2 lottery tickets, I think, is my favorite of the 2. It is a story about 3 guys. One of them runs sort of an auto body shop, and he's sort of down on his luck. He's got a wife that's over in Italy that he's trying to get to come back. He needs a certain amount of money by a certain time. And with his buddies that he hangs out and drinks with, they put in for a lottery ticket and they end up winning. But then they've lost the ticket, or he has specifically. He had a fanny pack that was taken from him that we see early on in the film. And then he realizes, well, I think I left the lottery ticket in that. We have to find it. And it was just 2 thuggy guys that happened to be at his apartment building. So then they have to go through this whole comedic thing of figuring out who they were. So they go around to all the apartments and ask people, have you seen these guys? One of the dudes in this group reminds me of like Ted Lasso-y kind of dude, just not in that actor that of course I can't think of right now, but like he's just got a certain demeanor and look. And there's, again, just some really funny exchanges between these guys as they're sort of coming up with their plans to deal with how to solve these problems. And it's just a really delightful comedy that I remember very much enjoyed. I was listening to the commentary, and they were saying that it was actually done as kind of an acting, not exercise, but sort of I guess one of the guys runs an acting school. I may be misremembering this, so don't quote me. But he was doing the film as sort of an example of a commercial for the acting school or something, in a way to be like, look, we made this, and this is the kind of thing we can teach you, sort of. That's my takeaway from that. I may be wrong. Especially on that level, I was like, it's a very fun and enjoyable film. And then A Month in Thailand is a little different, a little more of a romantic drama about a gentleman who is dating this girl. He's about to take her on a month in Thailand, and he thinks he sees an old flame at a supermarket at one point, and suddenly he starts to realize the differences between the girl he's dating and himself, and there's some friction there, and he starts to want to go and try and find his ex-girlfriend, and it's sort of a one-night kind of scenario. It's on a New Year's Eve, and it's a little downbeat, but it feels real in a certain way. There's breakup scenes, there's things that feel real, and I thought it was really well done on that level. These films are both in Romanian with English subtitles, and I enjoyed them. Very low key, but good stuff. Audio commentary from the director Paul Negoscu, cinematographer and editor Monica Comes Back, a short film, video introductions by the filmmaker, trailer, and a booklet essay included as well. So again, we get a nice booklet essay. You have the two films on 2 Blu-rays. You have reversible artwork, so you can put either one as the outside one. I always like that. So that's 2 lottery tickets and A Month in Thailand. Then we have Take Me Somewhere Nice. And Ena Sandar. Oh boy, I'm not going to be able to do these names. This one is in Bosnian, Dutch, and Dutch with English subtitles. And it's about a Dutch girl who goes to see her father in the hospital. She lives with her mother. She wants to travel to Bosnia, where he's in the hospital. And she's going to see her cousin, who will help facilitate her going to visit her dad. And this one gave me the vibes of a Jarmusch film in a way. It feels like Stranger Than Paradise in plot and in tone in some sense, but I can't exactly say that it is totally that. It just felt like maybe there was some influence of that, because you have a girl going to visit an apathetic cousin. He wants nothing to do with her. He doesn't really care that she's there. He has a friend that she sort of starts to fall for a little bit. But she's just kind of a lost soul. And so on that level, it's a little more downbeat and a little more, I don't know, in moments just sadder than your average Jarmusch film. But it is something that really, I don't know, it really resonated on a level that I was surprised by. And so it's just sort of an enjoyable, like, where's this going kind of adventure-y kind of thing. And you keep like waiting for the dark turns, and there are some darker shifts. But overall, just a really impactful story with, characters interacting in a real way, but a sort of heightened slightly. A lot of jump cuts. I think that's part of the reason I think of Jarmusch too, is there's just like things will happen and a character will jump to another space. And I've always liked the way that films that do that, the way they sort of, the propulsive nature of them, whilst not feeling like they need to over-explain or over-show you things. It's just like, boom, now this is happening. You figure it out. And there's also some really neat short films by this director on the back. And it seems to deal with, a lot of his films seem to deal with trust and trusting people in the world. And there's a great one that's set in a convenience store that I'm not going to spoil it all, but a really interesting film. And especially the way it ends, you're just like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. I unexpected, but that it all seems to thematically work together. So you've got like 3 short films on here, I want to say. Import, Fernway, and Travelers in the Night. And then an interview with the filmmaker as well. And yeah, no, this one is really interesting. I would say the overall experience of watching these, to me, Decanalog reminds me of like going to a really interesting, cool film festival. You go there, you don't know what to expect. You sit down, you watch the movie, you're like, wow, I don't know anything about this. What is this going to be like? And that was really neat for me because I honestly haven't done enough film festival stuff. So it was kind of like having that experience in a way. But I know that the intent is there's sort of like cult film type stuff leaning slightly in that direction, but not, so you have a comedy, you have something a little more dramatic, you have something completely like a light comedy, an absurdist comedy, and then you have something that leans a little more horror-y in this film, Detention. And this one is very dark and stylish. It is set, I want to say, in 1962 in Taiwan while the city was under martial law. And terrifying coming-of-age drama based on the hugely popular video game sees two classmates go looking for their missing friends and teacher, all of whom took part in a illegal book club, only to come face-to-face with the ghosts and deformed monsters that have taken over their school. This masterful debut, I didn't realize that, from director and co-writer John Hsu, recalls the best of Guillermo del Toro with enough blood, striking sound design, art direction, special effects to evoke Silent Hill and other landmarks of the genre. I think that's a really apt description of the film. It's very stylish, widescreen, and creepy, but also plays out these scenes of, school drama. So you have the school drama, almost like, for lack of another comparison, Dead Poet Society, where you have a group of kids reading illegal banned books, and the fallout from that, which is very severe in this community at this time, combined with these horror elements. There's a really creepy monster in this that I won't even try to describe, but it's very large and very effective. And so this film, again, leans more horror than the others. But again, as an overall experience, I think Decanalog really offers this really neat breadth of stuff so far. And I just noticed that a lot of people aren't talking about them in the same way. And it may be having something to do with all the films being non-English language, and that maybe certain factions of the partner label buying community are leaning a little more towards genre stuff in English. And I get it, but I'm just here to tell you, you're missing out if you're not checking out this label, because these are all, like I said, these are recent films within the last, this is 2019. I keep an eye out as 2018. I want to say the others are 2019 in that arena. So it's in the last 3-4 years, and it's a really neat curated experience, I have to say. And so I really do recommend keeping an eye on them, keeping an eye on their announcements, their upcoming stuff from Decanalog. I know I'm curious now, having seen this stuff and gotten a sense of what they're doing. And I just wanted to, let you guys know that, I know there's a lot to keep track of over on that partner label page at Vinegar Syndrome, but definitely take the time. I'll leave a link below. Go over and check out Decanalog and see what you think. See if any of these sound interesting to you. I would say that during the sale, maybe there'll be one or two of these that you can grab. I'm not sure if all of them will fall, or any of them will fall into the, I want to say one or two of them will, into what's available for the sale, but I just wanted to get this video out in time for the sale so that if you're thinking about it, if you want to be adventurous and try something new, and I know there's a lot to choose from, Decanalog is definitely worth your time. So that's where I stand on this one, and I hope to talk to Elijah on the channel and on the podcast, before the end of the month or in early June, and so you guys can hear from him a little bit about what the ideas behind the label are and what their plans are, if they have any they can talk about, and just a general curation sense from him, because I'm a big fan of his, and he's sort of one of the reasons I was interested in this label. And so if you're into his stuff and what he does, I think it's worth a look for you to try out. So anyway, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.